Good evening and welcome to Chayah for the Chosen, and I am your host, Chayah Janet E. Brown of Chayah Ministries Global. And tonight we are going to talk on a topic of a festival or holiday in the world sense that took place on October 31st. It's called the Festival of the Dead, aka Halloween. And we need to understand that there are appointed times and festivals that Abba has called for us to do. And anything outside of that, we have to be very careful on what we are participating in and the spiritual consequences that can occur. Now, I'm going to talk on some of the origin of what this is and what took place, how it got started, and how it kind of got modernized. And also want to share with you how some other, Christian Science or some other things are even noticing that there is something wrong with this spiritual science, I think is what it's called, from an article that I happened to see, and I'm going to share with you some of those things. Now, if they can see that there is something spiritually wrong with this and that it is consequences that can come about, and I'm going to share with you some of those things. How is it that we who are set apart, we who are connected to Abba, why is it that we have a hard time understanding that some things you just don't do, you just don't get connected with because of the ramifications that will come upon us from these demons and these spirits? And then not only that, the fact is that the wrath of the Father will come upon us because we are ones. I can understand what we did not know, but we know now. So it's no excuse whatsoever that we should be doing this or allowed to do this, and then pull our children into it, because we are held accountable for what we do. Even as spiritual leaders, when you start having functions in your church on the same day and want to try to call it harvest night or something else, but it's still on the same night, you got other days that you can go and harvest, which we should be doing anyway. But you're going to go and candy coat it and bring it in and still let the children come in with costumes, still have them bobbing for apples, still have them doing all this other stuff that's going on in the name and putting the Father's name in it. That's even worse. And then saying that this is kosher, and it's not. So we're going to really talk about this, and it's just time. It's just really time to start exposing some of these things and start looking at the reality and the spiritual damage that you are doing to yourself and to your family when you allow this. And if you're a ministry leader, you are allowing this onto your own. And it's something that definitely needs to be exposed and needs to be talked about, needs to be taught on. So we're going to look at these things and what it is and what Scripture has to say, the Torah has to say about these things. So I take it that you are ready. You have everything that you need. You have your paper and your pen. You have your Torah. You have all your beverages, your snacks and your goodies and all that kind of good stuff. And you have danced over to your comfy chair. And so we're going to get ready to get into this. And we're going to break this down. So I take it is all right to get started. Now, you didn't forget anything, did you? If you did, hopefully you have it by now. All right? Are we ready? Let's begin. Okay, we're going to get right into this teaching. This is the teaching here that's on this Thursday, which is November the 2nd, 2017, Sheshvan 135778. And it is the Festival of the Dead is the title. And it's a reference to Happy Halloween. And while we gathering and celebrating this particular um, festival, um, yeah, I guess that's the best word I could call it, um, or occasion such as this, and we seem to eliminate, or we do not follow the appointed seasons and times, appointed festivals and times that are written in the Torah and are given to us, and it's as a command by Abba himself, but we don't do that, but we will happily jump into everything else. So I'm going to get right into saying this prayer. I am going to ask one thing, if you would kindly do for me upon listening, that you intercede for me. Because generally, when someone who is a leader or a teacher, or a prophet, apostle, and so forth, and the teachers bring forth truth, we are go through the battle of preparing it, getting it ready. During the process, we are attacked sometimes physically on the body and also mentally. But there's always spiritual ramifications from the dark side that hits us after we expose and deliver the message on what is going on. So I am asking if you would intercede for me after this, after your hearing on this, uh, and on all of the episodes I'll be bringing forth, to keep those kind of dark forces at bay and away. I used to have a team that used to intercede for me, but sometimes I have to put the request out for them to do it. And for some who will automatically do it, excuse me, it's already started. So I'm going to get into this so that you will understand a little bit more about this particular festival. I know I'm 2 days late getting it out, but everybody was getting bombarded with everything and was getting hit. And I've been in the process of learning some new software too for doing video production. So I realized I hadn't completed this. So it's better late than never. So I am delivering it now since it's right after. And so some things that you may have seen or may have occurred during your time while you were traveling and so forth, you need to understand what has taken place or did take place, and understand that during that whole entire month the witches was fasting and in their little fasting and prayer time, um, all for that particular day to go through their power struggle that they go. And I thank Apostle Jafern, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Smith, when he was sharing some information on some of this. It was about a month before this even came about. And I picked up on it, and I knew it was a confirmation of something that I had learned. So I was glad to hear that somebody else knew about it. So I'm going to go right into prayer, and then I'm going right straight into this teaching. So here we are. Abba, thank you. Abba, so work in me that I may be a fit vessel for your empowering. I acknowledge that any results I may see are because you indwell me, you anoint me. I place myself before you in obedience. Ask for an empowering of the Spirit suited for this hour and for this time and for this mission you have called me to. Proclaim your kingdom through me in holiness and in truth. May I testify to your kingdom through deliverance and healing. May I set you forth so clearly that many will flock to find you. And I take every spirit in the hearing of my voice under my control, that no other spirit except that of the Ruach HaKodesh will be allowed to speak or manifest during this time of ministry. Thou angels which that that thou hast given unto me. My troops during this warfare shall cover me and be deployed by me to battle and warfare as directed as it is your will. They are fully armored in all areas, and so am I, as you have made it so. Those that have an ear to hear what thus saith Yahweh receive full portions, the messages from heaven's throne room. A hedge of protection shall be upon us during this session and upon the conclusion of this season or session of ministry. That no repercussions, demonic, demon attacks, thoughts, words of non-life, chance, spells shall not have no effect upon us and upon me, his vassal, unto the people who hear. No weapons that have been formed against us, they shall not prosper, and no enemy, mentally, physically, or spiritually, shall get to us during this season. That I shall be restored fully in faith, health, thought, and ready to receive the next bounty unto which shall be distributed upon your people and those seeking you. For we are girded with your faith, belief, your strength, your favor, grace, and your mercy, your love, and your covering. And so shall the words that go forth out of my mouth, that they shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which pleases Abba, and it shall prosper in the things whereto I sent it. I do nothing of myself, but as the Father hath taught me, I speak these things. And the words which ye hear is not mine, but the Father's which sent me, and I will glorify thy name. Hear me, for the Lord does fill my mouth, and grace be to you, and shalom from Yahweh our Father, and from Yahushua our Savior. The festival of the dead. When you hear uh, uh, just those 5 words, you would think it would be some caution before venturing in something such as this. So, what is Halloween? The popularity of Halloween is growing exponentially. Americans spend over $5 billion, $5 billion annually on this festival, making it the country's second largest commercial holiday. A quarter of all annual candy sales occur during this season just in the United States. I have seen with my own eyes, and when I was in Florida, buildings around the size of large department stores like Ross and TJ Maxx. They rent out the vacant ones just for this season, and they are filled to the brim. People flocking there like their souls depended on it. I mean, everything you can see. And now you're starting to see window decorations like they do for Christmas. Lights and jack-o'-lanterns and everything, and you got them pumpkins cut out and all over the place. And understand that Halloween is mostly a Western custom, and it has no direct reference in the Torah. However, there are principles that directly relate to the celebration of Halloween. So you have to understand the meaning of Halloween and its history. The word Halloween literally means the evening before All Hallows Day or All Saints Day, which is celebrated on November the 1st. Halloween is also the shortened name of All Halloween, All Hallows Evening, and All Saints Eve, which is celebrated on October 31st. The origin and meaning of Halloween is derived from an ancient Celtic harvest festivals, but more recently it has become to be known as a night filled with candy, trick-or-treating, pumpkins, ghosts, and death. It's not all about the candy. We should not celebrate Halloween. But do we really know why we should not? I remember even when I was a child and when I was got as an adult for a while, I was taking my children out, and then after a while, something kept bothering me about taking them, and I stopped. Now that I know, it wasn't until years later. It was one of my favorite times of the year. I love dressing up, going out trick or treating, but I never did no harm to anybody. And I always enjoyed that and the other festivals. The thing about it was you had to be cautious now whenever you go out because you had people that lived to the truth to the tale of what Halloween is and would do injury to people. You know, razors was in apples. I know some of y'all remember that. Candies laced with poison and wrappers twisted off and all kind of stuff that was going on. And sometimes the person's house that you was going um, to get candy from, they was doing trick or treat. They was doing more of the tricks than they were giving you the treat. And sometimes people got missing. Sometimes people got hurt. Sometimes, many times, people got dead. And these were children. Um, all of these kind of things were taking place when we were children, and you would never thought of why would a person want to harm a child? Why would you give something like this up? But when you understand the base of it and who's at the base of it, then you'll understand why it was not really um, not abnormal for it to have happened. But by His grace, once you come unto the knowledge or the revelation of something, you are then responsible. I didn't know then what I know now. And facts about the origins of the activities, from what we used to consider a fun and a harmless time of the year. I mean, you would see all kind of things were going on. I mean, some people really took it the hard way. They were very friendly with it. But you had others who dressed up in winter costumes and everything, and they did it so to mask themselves and hide the crimes they wanted to do. And I mean, some people, they be dressed to the T. We used to go to a certain part, and then downtown, on the other side of downtown in Baltimore, where they would have a major Halloween ball and people would be dressed up. And I remember seeing some of the stuff, and I had to granted their artwork and everything they did was very nice. It very looked very good. They even had the man who had um he was carrying around his head. I've never seen anything like it. I didn't get close to him because just something was eerie about that thing. And then there was, we got good sense in there. I'm telling you. And then there was also the one that was man who was dressed up. I never forgot him. He was the walking Christmas tree, had lights and everything. Everybody talking about it. You always seen something down there. And then, who was that? Glenda, the good witch of the Wizard of Oz. Somebody had her and she was dressed to a T. You know, but at that time when we were younger, it was a lot safer than what it was. And then as the years rolled on, it started to get really dangerous, and it's even more dangerous now. And you want to know the population of people who are missing and some other things. So these things you gotta be careful about, and it's just one of them kind of things you just can't do no more. Especially when we come to know by His grace, and we have come into the revelation of something that we should not even be participating in. I don't even go out on that day. I don't answer my door. I'm usually in doing something else, or I'm in intercession for safety for other people. But did you know that trick or treating and wearing costumes was first done by the Druids to keep themselves safe from evil spirits? Bobbing for apples was done to obtain favor with the evil spirits. People would kneel around a tub of water filled with apples. The first person to get an apple without using their hands would have good luck and favor from the spirits for the coming year. Bonfires, it's also known as bonfires, originally came from these nights of human and animal sacrifices, where they would throw the remains of the bodies into the fire. The next morning, all that was left were ashes and bones. Thus the names Bones Fire or Bonfire. But everybody's throwing a bonfire on the beach and a bonfire somewhere else and toasting marshmallows. But anyway, the history of Halloween. The origin of Halloween, it began over 1,900 years ago in England, Ireland, and northern France. It was a Celtic celebration of the new year called Samhain, Samhain, but I think it's pronounced Soin, which occurred on November the 1st. The Celtic Druids revered it as the biggest holiday of the year and emphasized that day as the time when the souls of the dead supposedly could mingle with the living. Bonfires, were a large aspect of this holiday. Samhain remained popular until St. Patrick and other Christian missionaries arrived in the area. As the population began to convert to Christianity, the holiday began to lose its popularity. However, instead of eradicating pagan practices such as Halloween or Samhain, the church instead used these holidays with a Christian twist to bring paganism and Christianity together. That was emerging, making it easier for local populations to convert to the state religion. Another tradition is the Druid belief that during the night of November 1st, demons, witches, and evil spirits freely roam the earth with joy to greet the arrival of their season, the long nights and early dark of the winter months. The demons had their fun with poor mortals that night, frightening, harming, and even playing all kinds of mean tricks on them. The only way it seemed for scared humans to escape the persecution of the demons was to offer them things they liked, especially fancy foods and sweets. Or in order to escape the fury of these horrible creatures, a human could disguise himself as one of them and join in their roaming. In this way, they will recognize the human as a demon or witch, and the human world, and the human would not be bothered that night by disguising himself to look like them. During the Roman Empire, there was the custom of eating or giving away fruit, especially apples, on Halloween. Makes you think about the story of, what is that one? Sleeping Beauty, when the witch gave her an apple and she bit it and fell into a deep sleep. It spread to neighboring countries, to Ireland and Scotland from Britain, and to the Slavic countries from Austria. It's probably based upon a celebration of the Roman goddess Pomona, Pomona, to whom gardens and orchards were dedicated. Since the annual feast of Pomona was held on November the 1st, the relics of that observance became part of the Halloween celebrations. The familiar tradition for the dunking for apples. Today, costumes take the place of disguises, and candy has replaced fruits and other fancy foods as children go door to door trick or treating. Originally, trick or treating began as a souling, Souling, when children would go door to door on Halloween with soul cakes, Soul cakes, singing and saying prayers for the dead. Over the course of history, Halloween's visible practices have changed with the culture of the day. but the purpose of honoring the dead, veiled in fun and festivities, has remained the same. So the question still is, Halloween bad or unbiblical? The Bible does not mention Halloween. However, the ancient origins and the modern custom show it to be a celebration based on false beliefs about the dead and invisible spirits or demons. The Torah warns there must never be anyone among you who consults ghosts or spirits or calls up the dead. Deuteronomy 18th chapter 10 to 12. While some view Halloween as harmless fun, the Torah indicates that the practices associated with it are not. 1 Corinthians 10th chapter 20th and 21st verse. And it says, I do not want you to be participants with demons. You cannot drink the cup of Abba and the cup of demons also. I'm paraphrasing here, but that is the scripture. You can read it for yourself. Samhain or Sahan, I think that's the way I was trying to pronounce this thing, but it's spelled Samhain, is the origin of Halloween can be traced back to this ancient pagan festival. And you see, the Celtics believed that the dead could walk among the living at this time. The living could visit with the dead. But the Torah teaches us that the dead are conscious of nothing at all. Ecclesiastes 9 and 5. Thus, they cannot contact the living. And we know that the Celtics, they wore ghoulish costumes so that wandering spirits would mistake them for one of their own and leave them alone. Others offered sweets to the spirits to appease them. In medieval Europe, the Catholic clergy adopted local pagan customs and had their uh, adjutants or their minister, whatever, go from house to house wearing costume and requesting small gifts. The Torah does not permit merging false religious practices with the worship of Abba. 2 Corinthians 6:17. Ghosts, vampires, werewolves, witches, and zombies. Now we got zombies. Everybody's just infatuated with zombies. Um, these have long been associated with the evil spirit world. The scripture tells us, the Torah tells us, clearly states that we should oppose wicked spirit forces, not celebrate with them. Ephesians 6, chapter 12, verse. Halloween pumpkins or the jack-o'-lanterns, the ones with the funny smile. Supplicants, they move from door to door asking for food in return for a prayer for the dead. And they would carry hollowed out turnip lanterns whose candle represented a soul trapped in purgatory. That is how jack-o'-lanterns or pumpkins came about, because it wasn't enough turnips at one point. So since they didn't have turnips and pumpkins are all over the place, I think pumpkins is only good for pie. But they used them in place, and that is how the turnips, the history of the pumpkins or the jack-o'-lanterns came into being, because it wasn't enough turnips. So pumpkins were more plentiful, so they used them and carved them out, and they put a candle inside of it, and that candle light was to represent that there was a soul trapped. They hollowed it out whose soul was trapped in purgatory. And some would say that the lanterns were to ward off evil spirits. And like I said, the pumpkins replaced the turnips because they were plentiful and it was easier to hollow out and carve. The belief behind this custom is the immortality of the soul, purgatory, and prayers for the dead are not based on or in the Torah. You can find that in Ezekiel 18th chapter 4th verse. That is the response to that. Should we celebrate Halloween? Consider for a moment that you are celebrating and what this holiday is all about. And ponder this. Is the holiday uplifting? Is it pure? Is it lovely, praiseworthy, or of good report? Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. So, is this Festival of the Dead based on godly themes such as the idea of peace, freedom, and salvation? Or does the holiday bring to mind feelings of fear, obsession, bondage, and death? The Torah does not sanction witchcraft, witches, and sorcery. The Torah makes it clear that these practices are an abomination to Abba. In Leviticus 20th chapter 27th verse, that anyone who practiced witchcraft, soothsaying, sorcery should be killed. In Deuteronomy 18th chapter 9 to 13th adds, when you come into the land which the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not learn to follow the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you one who practices witchcraft, or a soothsayer, or one who interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or one who conjures spells, or medium, or spiritist, or one who calls up the dead. For all who do these things are an abomination to Jehovah. Is it wrong to celebrate it? Absolutely. So let's look at a Torah that adds this topic. Is in Ephesians 5, chapter 11 verse. And it says to have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. This text is calling us to not only have no association with any type of dark activity, but also to shed light upon this topic to those of us around us and those who do not know. Excuse me. We have to expose it. That's what shed light means to the topic. That means expose it. Make it clear. Make the ones around us understand that this is not of the Father. This is not of us who have been the set apart people. We don't know how to do that anymore. We want to do like the rest of the world, and they have incorporated this stuff into church or to the bodies and to the appointed times, holy days. So the question is, are we responding in the same way today? It's time to shed light upon what lies below the surface of this celebration. Abba is calling to follow him and to come out from among them and be ye separate and touch not the unclean thing. These are unclean things. 2 Corinthians 6, chapter 17 verse. The Torah refers to the ghosts or spirits of the dead as familiar spirits, as in intimate association, personal, or one well acquainted. Leviticus 19, chapter 31, Deuteronomy 18, chapter 11, 2 Kings 21, verse 6, and Isaiah 8 and verse 19, and warns against having anything to do with them. And warns against this. So, we get to ghosts. Are they real? And what does the Torah say about ghosts? Now, I do know that in the King James Version, the word ghost appears 108 times. Of these words, the word is never used in the sense of the dismembered spirit of someone who has died. It is only used in two ways. First, it was used in the phrase to give up the ghost, meaning to die. And the second time it occurs as the title, the Holy Ghost, or the Ruach HaKodesh. The Torah refers to the ghosts or spirits of the dead as familiar spirits, as in intimate association, personal, or one well acquainted. And like I said, it warns against having anything to do with them. And then we get on to this Halloween thing where it comes about, can the dead haunt houses? In Job 7, let me give you the answer to that. Job 7, chapter 9 to 10 said, as the cloud disappears and vanishes away, so he who goes down to the grave does not come up. He shall never return to his house, nor shall his place know him any more. Can the dead talk with the living? Ecclesiastes 9, 5 to 6. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing, and they have no more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Also, their love, their hatred, and their envy have now perished. Nevermore will they have a share in anything done under the sun. If people die with unfinished business to care for, do they become ghosts and haunt the places and people they knew in life? Psalms 146 and 4 said, when his breath departs, he returns to the earth. On that very day, his plans perish. Let me read that again. When his breath departs, he returns to the earth. On that very day, his plans perish. Do good people become angels when they die? Abba's angels are heavenly beings, not spirits of dead humans. Angels have existed before humans were even created. It is in the Tehillim in Psalms 8, chapter 4 to the 5th verse. What is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you visit him? For you have made him a little lower than the angels, and you have crowned him with glory and honor. Communicating with familiar spirits or ghosts. Isaiah 8, chapter 19 verse. And when they say to you, consult the mediums and the spiritists who whisper and mutter, should not a people consult their God? Should they consult the dead on behalf of the living? To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Leviticus 19:31 comes up again where it said, give no regard to mediums and familiar spirits, and do not seek after them to be defiled, defiled, be defiled, beguiled by them. I am the Lord your God. There are evil spirits in this world that are the fallen angels who follow Satan in the rebellion against Abba. There are demons and there are evil spirits in this earthly realm. And there's been with this. You got people who play around with seances and Ouija boards, and they even got a movie out. I'm seeing about 2 or 3 movies that come out on the Ouija boards and other activities of spiritism. You got to understand those are tools that are used for opening doorways and opening doorways that you, if you don't know how, you cannot close them or any kind of way. It's not like shutting a front door. And we need to be careful. And you see, I really believe, we really got to be cautious. We really need to be cautious. Because we got to put on the full armor, the whole armor of Abba, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And ghosts are real, but they are not angels from God or our dead loved ones. They are from the dark side. They are the fallen ones, and they are here to deceive us. 2 Corinthians 11, chapter 14 to 15. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising then if his servants masquerade as servants of righteousness. Their end will be what their actions deserve. Now, what I found really interesting, I'm going to close in a few, was there is uh, some things I happened to run across, and I think it was called spiritual research. These people was doing a spiritual science or whatever it was, and they were even talking about the spiritual effect of celebrating Halloween, and then what they call their basic law of spiritual science, which it states to them that the word, touch, form, taste, smell, and its related energy coexist. That this means where the word God is present, God's attendant divine energy is also present. Now, the thing that was interesting in this thing that they've talked is that the spiritual research that has revealed that Halloween is a festival that was created by negative energies with the objective of generating and spreading their black negative energy in society. And also saying is that where Halloween is celebrated, the activity of ghosts increases by 30%. Some other things increase, let me see, versatile increase in heightened effect of negative energy continues for 4 weeks and then slowly subsides after a 6 months period. Then there's the risk of possession by a common ghost that they have here. Now, if these people notice that there is something that's not right in celebrating this, then why is it that we who are his, we do not see this? And they're saying that there's even subtle effects in an average individual due to wearing a demon-like mask for Halloween. And they're saying that it's a contraction of a flow of distressing energy towards the individual, creation of a ring or distressing energy around the individual space and its activation in a vibrating form, creation and activation of particles of distressing energy in the individual body, creation and activation of a ring of ego in the individual, increase in the covering of distressing energy in a vibrating form around the individual, creation and activation of rings of distressing energy of the individual. Now, they're saying that this attracts a lot of distressing vibrations and gets affected by that. That if a person is possessed by a demonic entity, then not only does he or she attract negative energy, but also transmit negative energy into the environment. That is the word that we call the word that we call is impartation of familiar spirits. Impartation, and you can pass this thing on. And they even talk about the ones who wear the possessed individual due to wearing a witch-like costume, attraction of a flow of distressing energy towards the individual. The same thing, the emissions of rings that is being thrown out of distressing energy into a vibrating form, into the environment. Creation and activation of rings of distressing energy in a vibrating form around the individual's space. And all of these other things, wearing of black and costumes, because black is the predominant color worn and used, since the color black is tamasic, Tamasik, in nature. It has a maximum capacity to attract and transmit negative and distressing frequencies. And these are also the colors that they wear to funerals. But in our culture, but when you go into, like, I think it's Hawaii, Japan, and some other ones, they don't wear black, they wear white. They do not wear black. I think the US is the only one that wears black. Entrance doors are decorated wreaths that are black in color and adorned with signs of the underworld. Houses are decorated with tama, predominantly artificial cobwebs, spiders, ghosts, tombstones, skeletons. Halloween lanterns, pumpkin lanterns, are often carved with bizarre faces. Individuals like gelatin body parts, frozen hand effects, and then you have to have cakes and other types of food in the forms of tombstones, haunted houses, cut off hands, and finger foods shaped like real fingers, and they serving this. So that's a form of cannibalism. It's you could don't you even think about the thought of somebody bringing a plate of some food to tell you to eat it that look like somebody's cut off fingers. And understand that some of these things are what they call conduits and impartations. And you understand that you are pulling in and asking for an invite of these things coming and being around you, an impartation of these spirits. And some people actually, and there is such a thing as getting possessed. We already know this, the three faces of Eve, and the woman has like 16 or 17 different folks living in her vessel, in her house. These things are true. And the real meaning, and we learning about this All Hallows Eve, the Festival of the Dead. And then you have another group where they have the spiral dance, where it features beautiful and elaborate altars. And these altars provide a way of showing honor and respect for the elements, spirits, and deities, and for our beloved dead. So they have 5 altars: the altar of the air, the fire, the water, the earth, and the beloved dead. This is an actual site that is done that here. And then you can submit until midnight on the 27th of October, or closer to the date on each year's changes, to be read during the ritual. And to honor the cycle of death and rebirth by sending the names of those who have died during since the last season of the Sahan. And they get read during this time. And they chant and do all of this stuff. And they had, trust me, they had fasted and everything and prayed before their little events even come about. And we are participating in this. So now here's the summary. I'm going to give you 10 reasons why you should not celebrate this. October 31st has always been known as the Festival of the Dead. The Celtics and their priests, the Druids, celebrated this day as a marker for the change from life to death. Halloween today is performed usually by groups of adherents of witchcraft who use the night for their rituals. Witches celebrate Halloween as the Feast of Samhain, or Samhain, Samhain, the first feast of the witchcraft year. So their new year has started. Being a festival of the dead, Halloween is a time when witches attempt to communicate with the dead through various forms of divination. We should not be involved with occultic practice or divination. This is Abba's command against divination in Deuteronomy 18. That's 3. 4. Occultists believe Halloween is a time of transition between life and death. Some occult practitioners believe in lying on the grave and listening to the message from the long departed. Who you think really is whispering to them? Because once you're dead, from ashes to ashes and dust to dust. 5. Occultists also taught that spirits and ghosts left the grave during the night and would seek out warmth in their previous home. Villagers, fearful of the possibility of being visited by the ghosts, would dress up in costumes to scare the spirits on their way. They would also leave food and other treats at the door to appease the spirit. 6. Occultists also would try to scare away the spirits by carving a scary face into a pumpkin. Before the pumpkin, it was the turnips. But now it's pumpkins because there's more of them. Sometimes the villagers would light a candle and place it within the pumpkin and use it as a lantern, hence the word jack-o'-lantern. In some witchcraft covens, the closing ritual includes eating an apple or engaging in fertility rites. I'm not going to get into that. That's a little more detail. But you probably get, if you understand what fertility is, then you know the rest of it. So that's probably how the Romans came about having toga parties. But anyway, schools are removing any religious significance from um, their aspect, from those who in the was the Catholic and so forth, from Christmas, winter break, and Easter, spring break. And isn't it ironic that most public schools still celebrate Halloween even though it's an occulted origins? In other words, they're taking the Father out of a lot of things, replacing it with what they have merged in from the paganistic part, but yet that which should be really kicked out, they celebrate that and have open arms for it. 9. Participating in Halloween gives sanction to a holiday that promotes witches, divination, haunted houses, and other occulted practices. 10. We should not endorse or promote it in any way. The night is nearly over. The day is almost near. So let us put aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light. Romans 13th chapter, 12th verse. I hope that this has helped you to understand the true meaning of this festival of the dead and the spiritual dangers of it. And so you got to understand that death and regeneration are always linked in the goddess theology. Birth, growth, death, and renewal are a cycle that plays over and over again through natural systems and human lives. But they pull all these particular false gods and all these particular people in and try to sweeten it and change it around and pull the Father into it to try to make it kosher. It is the Samhain or Chayah is a time for deep spiritual work. This time of the year, they say the veil is thin that divides the worlds, the seen from the unseen, the day to day from the mysteries. In San Francisco, the reclaiming tradition of Wicca sponsors a big public ritual where they celebrate the renewal and creativity that emerges from the dark with elaborate altars, dances, music, culminating in a spiral dance by more than 1,000 people that honors the energies of rebirth and renewal. This is what they do. Now, I remember something that they did was a big bonfire. It's something, I don't know why, but the thing Wicca keeps coming to mind. This great big tree man that they made. And I think they set this thing on fire. I don't know if this is the same thing or not, but I remember this. And these people gathered for this thing. They almost gathered for this thing just about as big as you're going for a football game. You know, and this is what they do. This is the things I needed to share with you. Then what it takes place. Ghosts, ghouls, zombies, witches, goblins, bonfires, which are really bonfires. You know, these are the things that are here and what they mean. Sometimes things that look cute are the most dangerous things to have around you and to be a part of. And we need to be careful. We really and truly need to. We really need to be careful on these things. So I'm hoping that you are able to glean from this night. And that this will stay deep. And that when it comes time of next year, that you would understand of being more prepared to protect yourself, but more so not to participate in it. Because now that you do know, you are definitely held accountable. Abba, for I have given unto them the words which thou gavest me, and they have received them. And my prayer for them, Father, is that because of what they've heard, that now we know that our people perish, or your people perish for lack of knowledge. And that this knowledge-based wisdom that they have received, that they'll be able to utilize it and in their baskets, but also to share it with others so that they will know the truth and why some things cannot be and should not be. And I pray that There is an increased wisdom of understanding and to get closer to you, to understand and receive the hidden manna for those who have belief. And this is one of your things that you promised. And Father, keep your people. Keep us replenished, keep us safe, and pour back into us that which was poured out from your vessel here today. And keep me protected for any repercussions and any attacks that may try to come about. And I thank you. And on behalf of the people, I say thank you for all that you are doing in our lives. In Yahushua HaMashiach's precious name. And Yahweh, he who exists will kneel before you, presenting gifts, and will guard you with a hedge of protection. Yahweh, he who exists, will illuminate the wholeness of his being toward you, bringing order, and he will provide you with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahweh, he who exists, will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon you, and he will set in place all you need to be whole and complete. And so shall they put my name upon the children of Yisrael, and I will bless them. And this concludes this episode for Chayah for the Chosen. And the episode is the Festival of the Dead. And I'm your host, Chayah Janet E. Brown, and I look forward to sharing with you another time. And shalom, shalom.